Hey everybody, as you can tell we are in the garage right now, and I decided I would start off 2018 on Make It With Calvin with probably the biggest, most complex, and potentially the biggest disaster of a project. We'll see if that happens. I'm going to attempt to turn pink insulation foam into a two-person stand-up pontoon paddleboard. Yeah, that's right, this thing is going to be big. I'm not joking. So the basics of the project are this. I wanted to make myself a paddleboard, but I didn't want to do one that was the usual surfboard style. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but the thing is, I always feel a little bit unstable on them, and I've always liked the idea of a boat that's a little bit wider for the sake of stability, and I figured making a pontoon style one would be a little bit easier. Now, the criteria for this are, I want it to have a weight capacity of about minimum 300 pounds, with about a 50 to 100 pound extra capacity on there. Make it so that way it can fit into my car, which means the pontoons can be, or pieces can be no more than 4 foot long. And I also wanted to make the thing using relatively commonly available items. So what got me into paddleboarding in the first place and wanting to do this is thanks to my friend Danielle from the GoPro Ocean videos. Long time ago, she finally convinced me to try paddleboarding, and I was absolutely hooked. I've always liked kayaking, but I'd always thought paddleboarding was a great idea to stand there and watch me laugh as I fall into the water. Reality is, even though I have bad balance, it's easier than I thought. So I was like, oh man, I'd love to get one. But the problem is they're about 6 to 8 foot long, and that's not going to fit in my car. I don't have a roof rack, so I can't really haul the thing. And at a couple $100 each for one that I can't fit into my car, weighs a whole lot, and all that other stuff, I'm just like, no, I think I can try and build one cheaper. So let's actually dive into how I'm going to go about doing this. And I'm sorry if this video series will not be like a how-to tutorial. This is more a watch and learn as I do things style of episode, as there are probably hundreds of videos out there of people who have built their own. I'm more or less just documenting this for the sake of don't make the mistakes that I did, or do what I did that worked. So enough yip yap, let's dive in. So the first thing you should know is the foam comes in 4x8 sheets. And if you're like me and you have a car, it won't fit into your car as it sits. So to cut it up at the Home Depot where I bought mine, it was actually really simple. I just grabbed one of these really cheap, under $2 retractable knives. They're nice because you can push the blade out, pull the blade in, or if the blade gets dull, you can cut it off. These are really nice for cutting foam. Do note though that if the blade starts to go a little bit dull, it won't cut the foam, it'll just make a nice jagged edge, and at that point you should probably break the blade off for a fresh part or get a replacement blade, but these are well worth it. Another helpful item is something for a straight edge. In this case, whoops, I'm just using a piece of stainless steel that I have lying around. It just happens to be 4 feet long. I just lay that down, kind of hold it down as I'm cutting, and I'll cut about halfway into the foam, which is 2 inches thick, and then I'm able to carefully snap it and get a good snap line. So let me go ahead and cut the last sheets up that I need for the pontoons, and we'll go from there. we have the foam panels cut, it is time to glue them together. Now for the sake of speed here, because we are going to be fiberglassing the outside of this for strength and waterproofing, I've just decided to use this, which is just general purpose spray adhesive that according to the packaging is foam safe, which is extremely critical. I have a couple of cans of Super 77 that I got from the free reuse program back where I grew up, and the problem is those explicitly state not for use on foam. This one does, and I haven't had any problems with it, so that's what I'm using. Now another thing that I'm doing intentionally with this is I'm trying to make sure that all the nice edges are on one side so that I can form the top, and then all the, well, not so nice edges are on the other side. Now, I know what you're thinking is, wow, that middle layer looks really bad. And you know what? I'm aware of that, but I'd rather have two factory edges and one edge that I smooth down to that than have three edges that are kind of like doing this the whole time. Sure, everything does not need to be perfectly flat on this, but I want to get it decent. So when it comes to applying this, what I like to do is apply a nice generous coat to both pieces, let them sit for about 5 minutes to not only let the solvent evaporate off, to allow the glue to get tacky, so that way when I stick the two together, they stay there. Now it should be noted that once you get these stuck together, that's the way they're going to go, so take a minute to line everything up properly and then put them together. Once I get both of the other pontoons done, which will be these guys, I'm going to stack them up under some weights for a while. Okay, so this is one, like I've mentioned, that I've done the other day. And as you can see, like I've shown before, it is multiple layers thick, forming one pontoon. So now the next step for this will be to come along and cut the beveled shape into it for the bottom and try and smooth over the top. So what I've decided I'm going to do for creating the beveled shape is I'm probably just going to draw a design out that I like for the bevels on the side, then come along with a saw and just cut along that angle to very quickly rough the shape in there, and then if I need to, I will just come in and manually sand a little bit of a radius into the edges, and then I'll deal with the top. Like I said, the top does not need to be perfect, but I do want to make it relatively smooth so that way when I apply the fiberglass later, it'll work out fine. Now for joining the ends up, those are going to be a little bit tricky. Those I'm going to find, the ends of the material that are the smoothest and come along and probably 3D print up some end panels that will get glued into the foam that dowel rods, probably will be fiberglass or something like that, will fit into, so that way it'll help prevent side-to-side motion of the pontoons. So that way the mounting stuff that I have on the top and the bottom, all it's doing is it's just preventing them from sliding in and out without really having to take all the load of preventing it from doing this as well. Now mind you, I am no engineer or anything like that, so like I've said, this is definitely going to be a learning experience, but I do have some confidence in my ideas that they will work. So I'm going to conclude the episode here for part 1. Part 2 will definitely be me coming along and shaping the foam, filling things in, and all that good stuff. Hope you guys found this enjoyable, and I'm sorry if the videos are not going to be like spaced out like every single week there might be an episode on this, just because of time reasons, but I do hope you guys find this enjoying, and I really hope this is not a giant disaster, because that would not be fun. So, see you guys next time on Make It With Calvin, where probably I'm going to be making a mess with foam. I really hope my environmental science teacher does not watch that part, because it'll be a mess. Sorry, Piggy.